You know what's crazy about the Kansas City Chiefs? They just wasted maybe 8 figures on rings. And yet, that might not even be in the top 10 worst things that have happened to the Chiefs this offseason. That's how bad it's been. Welcome everybody to JG9 News, where we talk all things NFL all the time. I'm Jared Gare, and I represent the 904 from the 602. And today, we are talking about this team behind me right here, the Kansas City Chiefs, as they were honored for winning Super Bowl LVIII by getting their rings last night to commemorate the great season they had when they won back-to-back championships and won their 4th Super Bowl in franchise history. Now, usually something like this is a complete non-event. It's a cool moment for sure, but there's nothing really too newsworthy that happens at these events. You just get the ring, you get presented with the ring, and everything is good to go, and it looks super cool. And the Chiefs ring, to be fair, there are a lot of elements in this ring that look super cool. There are a ton of nice little details in there. There's 17 miniature gold leaf confetti for 17 points scored in the AFC Championship, 50 diamonds on the logo to represent the plus 50 point differential at home. You got 16 custom-cut rubies to symbolize the 16 division titles the team has won. Every player has their own signature in it. You've got different Lombardi trophies based on how long they've been with the team. It's really individualized. It's really customized, and this ring does look really, really cool. Having said that, there is one thing that the Chiefs got horribly wrong with this ring, and this is not me being subjective and saying, oh, I don't like this, they should have done this. No, this is something that they got factually wrong with the ring that they somehow did not proofread and did not make sure was correct, and now they wasted about 8 figures worth of money on incorrect rings. So, if you see this graphic to symbolize the ring, it says that it shows the toughest playoff run in playoff history. It basically says that it shows the final score of all 4 playoff games and the seeds. Now, this is not the toughest run in playoff history. It's definitely not. The Giants in 2011, just off the top of my head, were tougher because the Giants had to beat a 5 seed, 2 1 seeds, and a 2 seed. So naturally, that trumps what the Chiefs had to do because the Chiefs had to beat a 6 seed, 2 1s, and a 2. So obviously beating a 5, 2 1s, and a 2 is tougher than beating a 6, 2 1s, and a 2. But I don't have a problem with that. It's clear puffery. Again, no real big issue with that. It's just something to point out. Because if you look at the ring, you can see all the scores and all the seeds of the teams that they played. So they beat the Niners in the Super Bowl, won that game 25-22. The 49ers were number 1 seed. They beat the Baltimore Ravens in the AFC Championship. The Ravens were the number 1 seed. They had a home field advantage throughout the playoffs in the AFC. Won that game 17-10. In the divisional round, they beat the Buffalo Bills 27-24. A great game. Another classic in the Mahomes-Allen rivalry. The Bills were a 2 seed. And then you get to the wild card round, where the Chiefs beat the Dolphins 26-7, and the Dolphins were a 7 seed. That's interesting, because last time I checked, the Dolphins were not a 7 seed. Last time I checked, the Dolphins were the 6 seed. You were the 3 seed. The Dolphins were the 6. If the Dolphins were a 7 seed, then this run would not have been possible. If the Dolphins were 7, that meant you would be the 2 seed. Meaning that Buffalo could not be the 2 seed. That means you would not have gone on the road in the divisional round. How do you know that Buffalo is the 2 seed and you say that Miami is the 7 seed and yet you play Miami and Buffalo back-to-back weeks? Because that literally cannot happen in this playoff format. How do you screw this up? How do you spend all this money on rings and not realize that the Dolphins were the wrong seed? All the attention to detail with other things, like I mentioned, the rubies, the miniature gold leaf confetti, the diamonds, the different stuff in the logos, super cool stuff, and you couldn't get this right? You missed the easiest detail of them all? 150 rings per team. That's usually what you give out, 150 rings per team. Each ring costs somewhere around $50,000. Now, I'm thinking this was way more than that because of how much detail went into the rings. 505 round diamonds, 38 custom-cut rubies. This probably costs more than $50K. Now, multiply whatever it costs by every single person in the organization to get a ring, which, again, 150 rings is what you get. But you can give out more if you want, but 150 rings is what you were provided. The Chiefs spent high 7, low 8 figures on all these rings, and they're all wrong. all the rings are wrong because the Chiefs couldn't even proofread. I proofread text messages that I'm sending to my friends to make sure everything in a meme that I'm sending them is spelled correctly. You can't proofread an 8-figure investment? You can't proofread this permanent ring that costs you a crap ton of money to realize that the Miami Dolphins were not a 7 seed? Again, you had to know that you were a 3 seed. You have to know your own history. You had to know that you were a 3 seed and that this run could have been possible if the Dolphins were a 7. Because if the Dolphins were a 7, you would have been a 2. 2 plays 7, you would have won that game. And then the divisional round, you would have hosted the divisional round. But obviously, you did not host the divisional round. You had to go on the road to play Buffalo. You would have been a 2 seed. There's not 2 seeds. And you already established with the ring that Buffalo was a 2 seed. I don't get this at all. I don't get how you screw this up. I don't get how there's such a big error like this on a ring that took months and months to design. No one caught this? No one in the entire process. Because it couldn't have just been one person to create this ring. This is not a one-person kind of thing. This is a whole team that's coming up with this design and is making sure that everything's good. Not one person in the entire process said to themselves, hey, wait a sec, this isn't right. Not one person looked at every detail and was like, wait a sec, that's not the right seed. You got the plus 50 point differential at home. That's such a random detail. I mean, I appreciate it, but that's a random detail to put in a ring. You got that right, but you couldn't get the freaking seeds right that everyone knows? What are we doing here? What are we honestly doing here? The proofreading or the lack thereof is absolutely embarrassing. And it tarnishes what is a really good and really nice ring. But obviously, this factual error is horrible. This factual error is inexcusable. There's no reason for this factual error to exist. And I wonder what the Chiefs are going to do about it. I wonder if they're going to redo all the rings or that portion of the ring. You can have the ring go back and they'll fix it. I wonder what they're going to do. That's going to cost a lot of money too. You screwed yourself over by not proofreading. And this is a lesson to everyone watching this. You always proofread, because even if you think you got it right on the first try, you probably didn't. You want to double check, especially when it's a big investment like this one, because if you don't, you're going to be out a lot of money potentially if they have to fix the ring, and you're going to look really stupid in the process. But what are your thoughts on the Chiefs ring? Do you like the ring? Do you not like the ring? What is your favorite Super Bowl ring? What is your least favorite Super Bowl ring? If you have a favorite, what are your thoughts on Kansas City this upcoming season? What are your thoughts on the mistake in the ring? Do you think that the ring should be changed? Do you think that this mistake was avoidable? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below. Again, this is a story that I did not think I was going to have to make. I did not think the Chiefs ring presentation was going to be anything to write home about, because it's usually the same thing every year. But obviously there was a massive exception because of how bad this mistake was. But that is going to do it for this episode of JJ9 News. Be sure you like and subscribe. It helps the channel out a lot. And be sure to check out my main channel, JaguarGator9, where we talk all things NFL history all the time. Until next time, this is JaguarGator9 signing off. And as always, go Jags.